Okay. So last time, any questions? How about the homework you have? The lab homework you have. Are you happy with it? Okay. So you're gonna be programming a game, and during the lab, you will be asked to make some changes so that we we can understand that you are able to do it, because the full program is somewhat longer than you can anticipate in the lab. So what we want is to modify you to modify so that a different behavior of the game uh, will be achieved. So for that part, I'd like to quickly go over the pointers again, uh, quickly, then move to the next slide, which is about database systems and somewhat big data. Okay. So some languages have good memory management, good memory handling abilities. Some don't. C language and C++ language has ways of handling memory directly, efficiently, and also in the way that all other computer languages actually perform. So some languages, for example, don't have pointers, but those pointers are not visible only to you. They have pointers, they are using it, they just don't tell you. Java, for example, don't tell you. So, or Perl, for example, they have pointers, but it is not open. It is not well used. You can go around, no problem. You can use addresses, but the basic, the fundamental approach is not to for some languages, not allowing direct memory access, because it requires people know what they are doing. Okay, you should know what you are doing, and it requires experienced programmers. With pointers, it is easy to make mistakes. It is easy to make big mistakes so that your program crashes. So the notation of the pointer is like this. With star here. So when you are declaring it and using it, you use star from time to time. Along with it, you also use this symbol. So star and ampersand are the and symbol, are two famous operators for pointer. Pointers are variables. Since they are variables, we need space to store them. So you store pointers. Inside the memory, there is a memory address. But that address contains a value. So what we store in pointer is not 100, but 0x123. 0x123 is a hexadecimal number. 0x means hexadecimal notation. So 0x123 is a hexadecimal address. That address contains 100. And that OX123 is stored somewhere else, which stores the pointer. And it is the pointer variable. Because when we say variable, that means we have to store something. When we say constant, we don't store it. It is immediately replaced during the compilation. So are you comfortable with the word compilation? That is a question for you. Okay. When I ask a question, usually the response is someone else can answer, so I shouldn't, right? But at the end, the whole class turns silent. This is quite similar to the fact that if someone on the street, someone in the busy street falls down, no one cares. Because everybody thinks that somebody else will take care of it. But if that street was quite empty, a narrow street, that person falls down, and if there is only you, okay, on the street, then you will help, because there is nobody else. But when the crowd is there, it is much worse, because everybody thinks others will do it. So it is similar here. When I ask a question, everybody thinks that someone else should respond, and net effect will be nobody is responding, right? Unless I push. So the uses, have you used pointers in your homeworks? Have you not used pointers in your homeworks? Okay, same thing, no answer. So the logic says A or B, nothing else. I asked the first question, no answer. I asked the second question, no answer. So that means either you are not listening to me, or you are not understanding to me. Huh? So, okay. So, let me quickly go over it, because it is important and I'm not going to talk about it again. X is equal to 1, Y is equal to 2, Z is an array 10. All integers. Integer pointer IP or Hasan, whatever, right? So it is a pointer. Does it show anything yet? No, it is pointer. It is not initialized. But a memory, when I say this, a memory space is reserved. Then, when I say this part, IP is equal to address of X, then it shows 1. So I can use IP instead of X. And you may ask, why? For example, what is the name of our previous secretary? Nermin. Nermin Hanım is about to retire soon, so he is on leave now until the new year. We have a new secretary. So when we were dealing with the department issues, and when you are asking stuff from the department, people were sending emails to Nermin Hanım. Okay? But he left. She left. So what is the secretary's email now? I don't know. Maybe somebody is gonna do it for 6 months and then leave again. So what should I use? So instead of using the email of the person, we use bilgisayar mühendisliği, Department of Computer Science, and give that email to her. Right? So if she is changed with somebody else, same email still can be used. So that is the beauty of pointing to actual resource and changing the resource if necessary. So it is more flexible. For example, do you know the name of Genelkurmay Başkanı? I don't know. But he is Genelkurmay Başkanı. So there is a position, that's a pointer. I don't know what it contains, but the position is important. Okay? So in order to indicate that kind of referencing without, because it can change, without caring about internals and variable names. For example, IP is now X here. It could be Y if I want. So it could be Nermin or Çiğdem. If I use IP as a secretary email, sometimes it is Çiğdem, sometimes it is Nermin, sometimes it is address of X, sometimes it is address of Y. If my algorithm, for example, write a dilekçe algorithm, uses IP and give it to secretary or whatever, the algorithm will say give it to IP. So I don't have to change IP in the algorithm when secretary changes. Somewhere else in the program, I only said IP is equal to address of Y, and the secretary changes automatically. So the algorithm and the code will function correctly. Otherwise, I have to modify my code by inserting like this. If secretary is X, do else secretary is Y, else secretary is Z, right? So that kind of logic will be required within the program. And if a new secretary comes, I have to modify the program. With this way, the program will be fairly constant. The pointers will change. Obviously, this is not the only advantage, but this is a significant explanation. It's a good explanation. Significant explanation of what referencing means instead of using directly. If you are going through referencing, then you are more flexible. Furthermore, we will have pointer to pointer for more flexibility, or pointer to pointer to pointer. Everything is moving. It could be used in matrices, it could be used in data processing, with the arrays, with the text processing, or whatever. Who is where or what changes. The pointers can be functions. We call them function pointers. You will learn them in 102, where it's a migration point to object-oriented languages, where you don't know which function you are calling until runtime. So it could be this function or that function, depending on the input. If the coming variable is something like this, you behave like you are calling the same function through the pointer, but it will be a different pointer, and it will be a different function. Each time you call, it could be different function, although the algorithm will be the same because it's a pointer of the function. You can change. And in order to access to the content, in order to talk to Nermin, right? You use star. Get the content of the pointer. So it is actually reaching X. When you use star, it is reaching X. Y is equal to I star IP is basically integer is equal to integer. I believe some of you will still may think when I say Y is equal to IP, it might behave like a mathematical equation. No, it is not a mathematical equation. It is an assignment. So if I say Y is equal to IP somewhere, it doesn't mean that Y is equal to IP. It means that I am assigning it. So later on, somewhere in the program, they are not equal because it was an assignment. In mathematics, if they are equal, they will be equal all the time, right? For example, if R is equal to 3 in a problem, or pi is equal to 314, it will be 314 all the time. But in computer programming, it's an assignment. Efendim?
Mehmet hocam merhaba.
Merhaba, dersteyim biliyorsunuz. Bugün dersim var sabahtan.
Tamam hocam bir sorayım dedim. Biz
Ha,
o zaman
tamam,
başlıyoruz.
tamam. Görüşürüz. Bay bay.
Sağ olun hocam.
So, I can set the content of pointer equal to 0. That's basically equal to y is, no, it is x is equal to 0, but not y. It means x is equal to 0. And IP is equal to address of Z0. This is important. So we have an array. Right? So this is the first element. Right? Z0. So this, the address of this can be set to a pointer. We can also say IP is equal to Z. This is okay. When I say this, Z without brackets, it means I can drop this one and this one. These are the same. IP is equal to Z. So Z by itself is the pointer to the array. Okay? If I want to pass a pointer to a function, how should I do it? Pass an array to the function. this way. I will pass the address of the array. So function takes the starting point in the memory, then can work directly on the original data without copying it. You don't have to copy it. There is a way to send array through the stack, but it is not good. It is not good way. You need to use the pointer because you need to reduce data duplication, and also most of the time when you are calling a function on an array, you want something to be done on the array. That means the returning data from the function should have again the array. So the idea is make a photocopy, give it to someone, he works on it, brings back another photocopy, and you write and change your original. Ridiculous. What should we do? Give the original, say, work on this document. He works on this document and gives it back to you. Actually, what we do is we don't give the document. Document is here. We call him, we say, document is here, work here. So that is what sending the pointer value to the other function. Other function comes here and works on the original. So that removes data copying and makes things faster. The bad thing is you have to trust that guy because you are not sending a copy. You are not giving a copy. You are giving the original. If the function destroys your original data in memory also lost or corrupted. So both function and main program or caller should trust each other when they are using pointers. Therefore, it is important. That trust is regulated by protection mechanisms in C++. In C++, we have private, protected, and public members of the classes. So private, protected, and public actually determines, or the friend functions, we have something called friend functions. If two functions are friends, they can share their private members. They can access to their private members each other. So that kind of security mechanisms are regulated in C++, but in C, you have to trust. Everybody is open to everybody. If you include a function into your program, you have to trust it. I mean, it is like you. But in modern programming environments, require a lot of libraries, everything coming from different sources, your friends. So some of them might have bad ambitions sometimes. So even then, correct protection ensures correct progress of the program. And it is not because always from bad intent. It could be due to errors. Errors cannot propagate if you protect your variables. Okay. So the content can be incremented, like star IP is star IP plus 10, star IP plus 1, or IP plus plus Well, if you use the parentheses, the content is incremented. If you use if you don't use the parentheses, pointer is incremented. For example, IP plus plus star is equal to 5. That means increment the pointer. So look for the next location in memory. Make the content 5. For example, when we say IP is equal to Z, while int Z 10. So IP is equal to Z. When I say IP plus plus 5, that means it is equal to saying Z what? Tell me. 1. Z1 is equal to 5. How many of you understood? Okay. I have to ask that question because I have to monitor the situation in the class. I shouldn't keep talking if you don't understand, or I should go faster if you're okay. You have a question?
Doesn't the plus plus on the right first use IP then increment when the statement ends? Did I get it wrong?
I don't know. Let's see. You might be right. So you say plus plus IP plus plus IP, you said. Right? Should we try? So, so what did we say? Z 0 is 4, Z 1 is 3, Z 2 is 2. 7. Hello'yu kaldıralım artık. Okay. Yeah, you're right. First one will be 7. It is incremented. And it is then again incremented and set to the third one.
That was my intuition.
Huh?
That was my intuition.
Yeah. So this was incrementing before setting it. This was incrementing after setting it. So because first one was 7. Thank you for it. But as soon as you reach, it is incremented, used. So next time you increment, we skip the middle one. So it is incremented twice. For that reason, I never use these kind of tweaks unless I have to. The correct way is this, and then okay. So this is actually what is necessary for correct programming style, because you won't be confused. Sometimes you have to do this way in complex situations, so you may need it, but if you don't need it, use this way. Okay. So if I am going to send variable to this array to a function, I will simply send z instead of z1, z2, z3. So if I send z, the whole memory area will be referenced to the function. And why do we use so I'm using address of y here. Did you use something like this? Yeah. So I'm using and symbol, which is address of, because this is a function. Since this is a function, this function takes the address of the variable and fills that variable with the input. So it's also a function taking the pointer. So these are for the pointers, not for cosmetic reasons. It's a pointer indicator. Therefore, if I am going to scan into a string or array, I will say z instead of address of z, because this is going to pass the pointer of the array to the function. When you have file pointers, when you have strings are pointers because you just pass the variable name without and, because it is already a pointer. It is already a pointer without brackets. You know this site, right? Also, all languages are there. We can assign pointers to each other. So pointers can be assigned to pointers as long as the type is fine. Things like swapping A and B is difficult because returning is impossible. You cannot return the parentheses. You can return arrays, but it is more difficult. Therefore, because these are local, these variables do not propagate back. Fotokopi dedik ya biraz evvel. So this is wrong. What we do is we send the addresses of the variables. When we send the address of variables, they go, and furthermore, they can come back. Okay? So this will be a swap function, a typical swap function. They always require a temporary third variable, which is temporary. I don't care, but this is correct. Any questions? Yeah. These pointers are also relevant. The use of pointers are relevant, very relevant in assembly language. Since you are very familiar and you know what assembly language is, and you can use a primitive assembly language, which is very good. I mean, I like it because if anybody talks about assembly languages, you know what it is. You can write it in assembly language to some degree. And if they come up with a difficult assembly language, a more complex assembly language like ARM processor or Intel processor, you can learn it because there is no difference. The difference is the instructions are too many, their definitions and codes are different. The basic working is the same. We have immediate addressing, direct addressing, and indirect addressing. Indirect addressing, operand has an address, but that doesn't contain the variable. That contains the pointer to the variable. So it provides that the kind of flexibilities I explained with the secretary. Intermediaries can change behavior between end functions and the master. So that gives a lot of flexibility in writing device drivers doing complex system tasks, input and output. So it is quite interesting and joyful. Okay. So basically, we have AA as an operand. It says take the value in AA, right? In our simple assembler, Viz machine, D5 AA means okay, get the number in AA, but no. AA contains an address that shows the location of data. Okay, so this is what pointer is implemented in. Pointer is represented in machine language. Actually, since everything is converted to the machine language, when you write pointers in C programming language, it turns this way. It is compiled. So there will be a memory reserved for the pointer, and that content, this content includes the actual data, right? So similarly, like this will be Z, this will be the content of Z, the point where the Z is, and this is actually the 7 we were talking about in our example. Yeah, that's it. So any questions? Okay. Any questions? Okay, I'm going to move on to database systems. Before moving on to database systems, let's give a break then and come back.
Merhaba hocam, nasılsınız? Ben şey soracaktım, hani siz derste de Prelab 8'i sordunuz ya, hani nasıl geldi falan filan diye. Şimdi hani ben geçen senelere falan da baktım, böyle bayağı bir seviye yükselmesi var açıkçası lablarda ve hani biz zorlanıyoruz. Yani hani hiç bilmeyenler olarak.
Yapay zeka kullanmaya başladınız mı?
Evet, kullanıyoruz ama işte hani şöyle bir sorun oluyor. Mesela kullanıyoruz, bu sefer hani konuyu tam öğrenmeden onu kullanınca sanki sadece ezberliyormuş gibi.
Şimdi inceleyeceksiniz. Ne kadar zaman harcadığınıza bağlı. Onu çalışınca bitmiş olmuyor ki. Yapıp inceleyeceksin
Ben
onu.
zaten hani öyle yaptığımızda da yine de bir yerlerde oturmuyor gibi oluyor. Çünkü mesela hani tamam structure işte pointers falan işledik ama yine oyun ödevi birden çok ağır geldi gibi oldu.
Olsun, o öyle. Bunu da yapın. W3 Schools gidin işte bu siteye.
Hocam onu ben daha önce yaptım zaten ama hani yani bilmiyorum.
Ne eksik peki?
Ne eksik bence hani direkt temeli daha tamamlanan çok üst seviyeye geçtik gibi geldi. Mesela geçen senelerin ödevlerine baktığımda
Biliyorum.
işte böyle 6.
Değiştirdik, biliyorum. Bilerek
falan.
değiştirdik.
Evet.
Ama geçen seneki ödevleri şimdi versek GPT ile yaptırdığın zaman bir anlamı yok ki.
Ama zaten labda yasak. Labda şimdi oyunu modifiye edeceğiz ama hani labda yasak olduğu
Labda
için
modifiye etmiyor ama modifiye diye soruyoruz. Oyun yap diye sormuyoruz işte.
çok şey değiştirmeyecek miyiz o zaman?
Nasıl?
Yani çok üstünde.
Ya gene biz sizi geçecek kadar not vereceğiz yani şey olarak. Sadece problemleri zorlaştırdık.
Anladım.
Çünkü
Hani nasıl diye sorduğum zaman hani hiç kimse bir şey söylemeyince hani biz acaba
işte o yolda bayılan Sara krizi geçirenlere kimse dokunmaz ya. Bir kişi
Evet,
şey yapsa
evet.
adama herkes öbürü dokunsun.
Acaba diyorum sadece bizde mi, ama mesela insanlar konuştuğu zaman hani herkes aynı şeyi söylüyor ama hani bir
Niye
şey
söylemiyorsunuz?
söyleyen
O kadar 50 defa
Bilmiyorum.
sorduk yani. Bak soru işareti de koyduk.
Evet.
Ne istiyorsunuz?
Yani birazcık daha temelden bir şekilde gidebilir miyiz? Yani
Lab'da mı?
Evet, lab'da.
Bence ders anlatsınlar biraz labda. Yani en başta
Ya da hocam
anlatınca
mesela ben
çok
şu
faydalı
şekilde
oluyor
düşünüyorum. Laba
bence.
biz hocaya mesela ilk sorduğum zaman hani bir paralel gideceğiz dedi hani 101 ile. Mesela diyorum bu hafta pointers işledik. Mesela labda pointers'la alakalı basit birazcık daha bir şey yapsak. Önce temel yapsak hani sonra da o oyun tarzı şeylere geçsek bence daha faydalı olur.
Onu lab'da yapmaya gerek olmadığını düşünüyorum ben de onun için. Yani o kadar çok kaynak var ki onu lab'daki asistana yaptırmak.
Ama bu da hani çok üst seviye gibi.
Hani
oluyor.
eskiden mesela hiçbir kaynak yoktu. Böyle bizim ağzımızdan çıkanı böyle not alıyor. Hocanın biz de alırdık yani öyleydi. Ama şimdi o kadar her yerde var ki bu. Hani ben anlatsam ne, MIT'deki profesör anlatsa ne. Ben o kadar iyi anlatamıyorum. Çok daha iyi anlatanlar var yani. Estağfurullah değil öyle. Ben dünyanın en iyi hocası ben değilim ki. Ama dünyanın en iyi hocasının videosu var.
Yani onu söylemek istedim hocam açıkçası senin laflarda. Bir tık daha yani en azından çok olmasa da geçen senekiler kadar
Bunu-
olmasa da birazcık daha hani bir hafifletme
Yani
olursa.
yapay zekayı nasıl kullanacağımızı anlamaya çalışıyoruz, tamam mı? Bu şu andaki deney aslında. Normalde o oyunu yapamamanız lazım. Yapmanız lazım da mesela şöyle. 100 kişilik sınıftan o oyunu 15 kişi yapar. Yapay zekasız.
İşte geri kalan.
Yapay
Biz
zekasız.
oluruz. Evet.
Ama yapay zekayla önceden çalışıp öğrenirim bilme yeteneği olacağı için o 15 sayısı 70'e çıkabilir. 70'e 80'e çıkabilir. Siz geri kalan 20-25 kişi içinde olmamaya bakın bence. Yani yani problem orada.
Tamam, teşekkür ederim.
Ben yani geçen sene o 75 kişi yapay zeka olmadığında başka bir problemde 75 tane kişi yapıyordu. Şimdi gene o 75 gene yapacak yani. Ben soruyorum asistanlara yapabildiler mi, yapamadılar mı? Yapabildiler diyorlar. Tamam yapabildiyseniz sıkıntı yok. Yani orada yapamamak önemli. Bu şekilde iyi olduğunu düşünüyorum ben çünkü
Hani,
1-2 yıl sonra kod yazmamaya başlayacaksınız sanki. Yani şeyi yapmaya başlayacaksınız. Tasarımı yapmaya başlayacaksınız. Onun için altyapıyı bileceksiniz ama lab'da onu mu yaptırsak bilemedim. Bilemiyorum yani. Bilemiyorum.
açıkçası ben de öyle oldu. Diğer arkadaşlar da nasıl onu bilmiyorum çünkü hani.
Ne diyorsunuz? Sizler söyleyin.
Hocam biz çok memnunduk geçen sene.
Evet, hocam yani onlar bence güzelmiş geçmiş.
Sen niye bu dersi bir daha alıyorsun o zaman?
Almıyorum hocam ben. Ben size soracağım.
Ürün çok
Ha.
iyiymiş, çok iyi
Sor.
öğrenmiş, geçmiş
Evet
bence.
hocam.
Öyle.
102'yi de tokatladım hocam. Sırada OP var.
Kim kimi tokatlıyor?
Bakalım hocam o zaman.
Ya o dersler de değişecek. O dersleri de değiştireceğiz. Bakalım ne olacak yani.
Değişmiştir zaten hocam. Yakup Hoca bırakınca mutlaka değişmiştir.
Şimdi OP'yi kim veriyor?
Yakup Hoca veriyor. Yusuf Hoca veriyor önceden.
Ha, Yusuf Hoca bıraktı değil mi?
Evet.
102'yi de Yusuf Hoca vermeye başladı.
Ya şimdi bir kişi gelecek seneye. Belki o da verir. Hatta 2 kişi gelebilir. Yani işte büyümeye çalışıyoruz. Ama dersleri eskisi gibi vermeyeceğiz yani. Veremeyiz. Olmuyor yani.
Hocam biraz kademeli geçiş olsaydı.
Niye oyun verdim? Biraz da şunun için ver. Hep o kadar zor yapmayız. Arkadaşlarınıza, akrabalarınıza bir oyun yazdık diye hava atasınız diye. Biraz verdim yani. Hani şey.
Hocam ben okeyim söylememekle. Diğerlerini bilmiyorum.
Yok geri bildirim iyi bir şey. Sonuçta ben ilk başta söyledim. Bu dönem değişik yapmayı deneyeceğim dedim. Çünkü yani şey mesela en büyük ortak böleni hesaplamayı yaptırdığın zaman hep aynı şey, her sene aynı şey yaptırıyorsun. En büyük ortak böleni yaptırıyorsun falan. Artık bir şeyleri değiştirdim diye düşündüm yani. Yoksa bir 20 senedir en büyük ortak böleni yaptırıyorsun. Dersin. Bir de şey yaptırıyorsun. Son proje olarak. Bir kelime bir işlem vardır ya onun kelimesi, kelime bulma oyunu falan işte abi. Bir kelime var, gizli harfi şey yapıyorsun, buldukça yazıyorsun ekrana falan. İşte bir harfinin bir tanesini buldum, bir tanesini bulamadım falan gibi. Öyle şeyler sorabilirsin. Ne sorabilirsin ki labda?
Hocam bir şey sorabilir miyim? Peki bu bize ya verdiğiniz ödevi biz yapıp geliyoruz ya. Bir 15 dakika falan kodları falan açıklasalar yani ya da ödevi açıklasalar.
Öyle dedim ben aslında ama
Faydalı olur.
ne anlatalım diye sordular. Ne yapacaklarını açıklayın dedim. Yani göstererek
İşte o
açıklayın
öyle
dedim.
bir şey oluyor ki evet işte bu. Ve şimdi biz 2 saat boyunca onu yapmaya uğraşıyoruz sonra.
Sonra da yapıyormuşsunuz
İşte-
ama.
Yani hocam işte ona sor, buna sor. hocaya
Tamam
sor.
işte güzel. Gerçekten şeyimiz o yani. İstediğimiz o. Yoksa şimdi bir crash olsa her hafta biz cuma toplanıyoruz öğleden sonra. Bir crash olsa bir sonraki hafta yapmayız yani. Geri alırız yani. Sonuçta siz alacağınız nota bakın. Bir de yani lab'dan önce çalışmak önemli. Lab'dan önce çalışın yani. Oraya hazır gelin artık. Orasını gibi düşünün. Sınav gibi düşünün. Hani onlar bize söyleyecek. Eskiden şöyle oluyordu. Tahtaya yazıyordu hoca. Onu biz giriyorduk. Çalışıyordu falan. Veya assembly dersinde assembly kodunu yazıyordu hoca. Biz onun şeylerini buluyorduk defterden. Karşılıklarını. Çünkü assembly yoktu. Karşılıklarını buluyorduk. Ondan sonra onu makineye punch ediyorduk. Hardware karta. Go'ya basınca çalışıyordu ya da çalışmıyordu. Yani işte yanlış yaptıysa. Ya işte şurayı değiştirin, şöyle yapın, böyle yapın diyordu. Lab'lar öyle oluyordu yani. Şimdi aynısını yapsak oluyor o zaman işte. Hiçbir şey hazırlanmadan çantanı alıp geliyorsun lab'a. Hadi orada bana gösterecekler diye. O değil ki. Ya bilmiyorum. Belki yanlış yapıyorum. Benim yanlış yapıp yapmadığımı 102'de anlayacağız. Bu deneme oldu.
Hocam ama gerçekten ben hani diyorum acaba herkes mi böyle yoksa sadece biz mi böyle? Mesela diğer insanlarla konuşunca tamam diyorum ama mesela hani derslerde falan hani şimdi hiçbir şey söylemeyince diyorum acaba herkes okey mi, memnun mu?
Ya şimdi benim anlattıklarımı anladınız değil mi mesela? Şimdi bununla ilgili ben bunu yaptırsam, hadi bununla ilgili böyle şunu yap, bunu at diye bir lab yaptırsam faydası olacak mı?
Temel için hocam ben zaten sürekli bunları yapalım demiyorum. Mesela hani belli bir noktaya kadar bunu yaptıktan sonra o oyun belki olabilir. Ben o
İşte bir
tarzda
zaman kalmıyor. Neyse yaparız. Şimdi file işlemlerine birazdan. HTML'i yapabildiniz mi? Tamam. Şimdi file'ı biraz daha database gibi bir bir file yazma, kayıt açma, kayıt kapama gibi bir şey belki yaparız öbür hafta. Sonra da bitiyor zaten. Bir şey kalmıyor.
teşekkür ederim.
Hocam çok vakit kalmadan hızlıca sorsak. Bu chatbot işi için biz başladık hocam çalışmaya. Yaptık işte, veri kazıdık vesaire onları hallettik de. Benim tam kafam almadı, daha doğrusu biz tam anlayamadık. Bu vektör database oluşturulacak ya, tam nasıl olacak bu iş? Siz zaten herhalde yaptınız diğer şey için. Bu YouTube'daki sürekli canlı yayındaki şey için de.
YouTube'daki için yapmadım da başka bir şey için yaptım.
Bu Land Rover.
Land Rover için yaptım.
YouTube'daki nasıl çalışıyor hocam, vektörsüz?
O direkt cevaplıyor. Yani yapacağım da dataları toplayamadım daha.
O yüzden. Çünkü
Hazır yeri de yani aktif değil.
birkaç soru sordum tam nasıl çalışıyor anlayayım diye. Birkaç tanesine tam cevap verdi, birkaç tanesini direkt atladı. Dedim herhalde o zaman vektörler...
Patlaması şeyden kaynaklı. YouTube'un token sayım yetmiyor, bitiyor.
Ondan.
Çekemiyorum. Yoksa mesela dakikada bir çek demiştim. Dakikada bir yapınca bütün güne yetmiyor. Şimdi düşürdüm 15 dakikada bir soruyorum. Yani bir soru sorduktan sonra 15 dakika sonra onu görüyor.
Anladım hocam.
Yoksa bitiyor. Ama yaparsan, diyelim bir YouTuber'sın, 15 dakika veya işte 1 saat canlı yayın yapacaksın. O zaman yetiyor. Ama 24 saat açıp tutunca yetmiyor. Faiz diye gördünüz mü? F-A-İ-S-S.
Evet.
Faiz kuracaksınız. Faizden evvel dokümanları JSON'da temizleyeceksiniz. O JSON'daki her dokümanı bir LLM'le Python kodu yazıp her birinin rating yapacaksınız. Bu veri iyi mi? Bu veri iyi mi? Veri iyiyse database'e atacaksınız.
O şekilde. Peki
Çünkü
bu
junk da
JSON'ları
olabilir.
bölmemize gerek var
Neyi?
mı? JSON'ları parçalamamıza falan
Evet,
gerek var mı?
şey-
6 MB falan oluyor çünkü her biri.
Tabii öyle değil. Parçalayacaksınız. Ne kadarlık?
200-300 kelimelik diyor maksimum.
Yok,
öyle
daha
yapılıyor.
fazla yapın.
Mesela hocam 500 falan daha mı fazla?
Bir 200-300 kelime değil mi?
Aha,
Evet, o civarda. Yani 1000 kelime de olabilir.
tamam. Onu biraz isterseniz şeyle yapalım.
Yani
Kıyaslayıp boyutuna da
Evet.
direkt dosya
Hocaların bilgisi olan şeyde her hocanınki tek bir JSON'da olacak gibi bir şey olacak o zaman.
gibi, evet.
Oradan onu çıkarır o zaten. 2 hoca varsa bile çıkarır.
Yani biz tek bir JSON attık, okuldaki tüm hocaların işte okuduğu okulları şey falan da çok büyük oldu.
Evet.
Yazdığı
Aynen.
yayınlar çok
Evet.
uzun oldu.
İşte
Evet.
görüyorsunuz, onu hazırlamak esas işin ana kısmı.
Evet.
Evet,
Yani
datayı
yapay
çekmek zaten en
datayı
çok-
çekmek ve hazırlamak.
Biz manuel bunu elle temizleyeceğiz o zaman.
Yok, elle temizlemeyin.
Onu ayıran kodlar var.
Ayıran kodu
Ayıran.
yapay zeka yazdırın. İşte 500'er Word olacak şekilde parça parça yapsın.
Okulun web sitesi de hocam bence linkler özellikle çok kötü
Ve
yapılmış.
o chunk'larda linkleri kaybetmeyin. Mesela o chunk'ın içinde URL de olsun.
Ha.
Evet evet.
Sonra onu buluyor sonra.
Ha, evet,
Yani
evet,
buradan
bunları
burada yani sonuçta bir daha düşüneceksin ya.
Evet.
Oradan ilgili bir şey bulduğun zaman orijinalini bir daha indirmen gerekebilir.
Evet.
Hepsini. Burada
Evet, o
ne
yüzden.
diyormuş diye. Onu bir daha verip ha demen gerekebilir yani.
Evet hocam.
Yani yakalayıp bir daha indirip bir daha işlemek. Yani el elemi bir kere çağıracağım bana her şeyi verecek diye düşünme. Bir çağıracaksın, bir şey alacaksın. Olmadı bir daha soracaksın. İkisini birleştireceksin, bir daha soracaksın.
Evet hocam, o cevap alma işi biraz sıkıntılı. Hocam bir de biz hangi verileri kullanalım? Şu anda okulun resmi sitesini kullanıyoruz. Ben bir de diyorum ki
Üniversitelerin mi?
Aha, evet.
Yeter. Yani
Yeter.
Başka bir şey gerek yok mu?
ya şimdilik yok.
Tamam.
Başka ne olabilir ki? Yani
Ya çok bir şey
Twitter'a
yok zaten hocam.
girerseniz olur ama.
Evet, orası var. Bir de işte YÖK'ün sitesindeki sayısal veriler var.
Onları da
tercihlerle
filtrelemek
alakalı.
biraz
Yani
zor
şeyleri
olacak gibi hocam. Sadece okul için olsun
önce bir
aslında.
database'i çalıştırın da sonra
Tamam, ondan
şey
sonra
olacak.
ekleme
Ya
yaparız.
şunu bir daha yapayım diyeceksiniz. Şeyi belki indirebilirsiniz. Donanım haber tarzı bir yerden.
Hı,
Yani böyle her yerin konuşulduğu
anladım.
bir şey bulursanız memurlar net gibi.
Evet, olabilir hocam. Biz onlardan biraz korktuk açıkçası şey diye. Hani çok karışık, her şey var. 20 sene önce yazan adam da var.
Evet,
Dün
evet.
yazan adam da var.
Evet,
Şimdi
evet.
ne gelecek?
Evet.
Biri bir şey yazıyor. Okulun
Evet.
orası kalmamış bile.
Evet.
O hani
O yüzden
Tarihi var.
Ama
İşte
evet.
hepsini indirdikten sonra JSON'la ayıklamada 5 yıldan öncekileri
Evet,
alma.
son 5 yıl
dersin.
falan en mantıklısı olur. Neyse, o şekilde yaparız o zaman ya.
Aslında eski bilgilerin de önemi var. O eski bilginin eski olduğunu bir şekilde kaydedebilirsen taglerde
Aslında
bu
evet,
sefer
tagleyebilirsek
yapay
mantıklı.
zeka onun eskiden böyleydi ama şimdi böyle
Evet, o çok
çıkarsamasını da
mantıklı
yapabilir
mesela hocam.
yani.
Hatta belki
Bilmiyorum,
eski halini bilen
ben
biri
de
bir şey
bilmiyorum.
soracak.
Evet,
Ona da cevap
evet,
verebilmesi
evet.
gerekir. Evet, mantıklı aslında.
Veriyi işlemek bütün şey önceden ön işleme ve o şey istiyor, zeka istiyor yani. Sizin şahsi şeyinizi istiyor. Eforunuz istiyor. Tabii elle değil hiçbir zaman.
Evet. Yaparız hocam onu. Şeyde biraz zorlandık da ondan biraz tıkandık bir de. İşte okulun sitesi biraz garip tasarlanmış hocam. Bazı yerlerde linkler falan yok. Kodu yazıyorum mesela.
Robot, text herkes de yok.
Evet, hani böyle
Selenium'la falan
çekmesi gerekiyor, çekmiyor çünkü link yok, buton yok, bir şey yok.
buton var
Kelime
ama
aratıyorum.
Java ile yazılmış
Evet,
butonlar.
kelime falan aratıyorum hocam. Hani şu kelimeyi bulunca şöyle yap.
Ben Puppeteer'la epeyce şey yaptım. Puppeteer'la güzel çekiliyor.
Öyle mi?
Puppeteer Chrome çalıştırıyor.
Aynen bizimki de kurulmuş.
Ve şeyden bile çekebildim yani. Facebook'tan bile takır takır ilerledim. Giriyorum, login ediyorum, şey yapıyorum, giriyorum, çıkıyorum. Her şeyi yapabiliyorum.
Ben Gecko'yu denedim hocam. O da oluyordu.
Linkleri isimlendirirken hocam şey yapmamışlardı mesela GTÜ ana sayfa, bilgisayar mühendisliği, akademik kadro şeklinde değil, random numaralar atılmış. O yüzden ilerlemek çok zor oluyor. O işte butonların tuşunda şu TXT yazıyor
Hocam
falan.
blockchain'deki
filan.
frontend'i bitirince okulun sitesine de bir el atmak lazım. Onu da tamamlayınca.
Düzeltmek lazım.
İyi tamam. Derse başlayalım.
Tamam. İyi dersler hocam.
Böylece çok dinlendim teneffüste.
Görüşürüz hocam.
Şimdi arada tabii herkes gelip bir şey sorunca dinlenemiyorsun, böyle kalıyorsun. So, shall we start? Hazırsanız başlayabiliriz. Okay. Tabii. Güzel. Şimdi arkadaşınız şunu sordu. Pointer'ı bir arttırdığımızda 1 byte mı artıyor, 2 byte mı artıyor, 3 byte mı artıyor? Ne yapıyor bu? Integer'sa integer kadar artıyor. Character'sa character kadar artıyor. Float'sa float kadar artıyor. Bunların boyu platforma göre değişebilir. Architecture'a göre. Compiler hangi mimariyi kullanıyorsa. Dolayısıyla pointer'ı artırdığınızda 1 byte artmaz. Kaç tutuyorsa memoride bir sonraki elemana gidecek kadar artar. Bunu öğreneceğiniz şey de kaç mesela size of diye bir fonksiyon var. Size of int yazarsanız birçok platformda 4 gelir. 4 tane arttırır. Size of char dersiniz 1 gelir. Size of unsigned dersiniz 2 gelir. Size of long dersiniz 8 gelir falan. O kadar arttırır yani. Pointer. Ama kaç tane arttırdığını düşünmemeniz lazım. Sadece şeyde düşünürsünüz onu. Resim falan yüklerken kaç byte'mış bu falan gibi işlerde byte'ı düşünmeniz lazım. Ama variable array'lerde array of numbers, array of characters'ta hiçbir zaman byte'ı düşünmezsiniz. Pointer'ı artırdığınızda bir sonraki elemana gidecek kadar artar. Ne kadar artacağı sizi ilgilendirmez. Normalde. Okay. So if anybody faints on the street, please help. Because everybody may think the same way. Or organize yourself as two, so two people can help much easier than one person. Database used to be a big issue, and we had, and other universities had, database systems course in third year. I used to give that. Course as a third year course, and it was important course, and it is still important and relevant. Its importance is getting bigger and bigger because we are in the age of data. But IEEE and ACM and other curriculum organizations decided that database systems shouldn't be given as a separate course. It must be embedded into other courses. There is no need for separate course as database systems. So they dropped it. We also dropped it. So we don't have database courses anymore. We might have database courses for advanced optional courses, but not obligatory. So now I'm going to talk about fundamentals. What is relation? What is entity? Object-oriented databases. What is big data and big data databases, etc. So impact of database technology, etc. It is interesting. So the idea is collection of data that is multidimensional in the sense that internal links between its entries make information accessible from a variety of perspectives. So database is not Oracle or SQL. Database is students. Students is database. What is Oracle, MySQL, Firebase? What are those? Those are database management systems. So database management system is an application. Some of them are free, some of them are very expensive, okay, for big enterprises like banks, companies, hepsi burada.com, etc. But database is the information. So database management system contains databases. All right? So therefore, instructions say create a new database named students. That means students database. Do you understand? So database is the data itself, not the application's name. We know how to store information in the file, and we know what sequential access versus random access is. In sequential access, there were tapes in old computers, so you have to go through. Files are relatively like that, regular files. As you read files, get character, get character, get character. You did that in the lab last week, right? It is sequential reading. You cannot jump there in the file. You can go through the file at the beginning. But then they said, okay, can I make pointer arithmetic in file pointer? The answer is yes. So open the file in terms of operating system command, open the file and move by 1 megabyte. Why 1 megabyte? Because each picture is 1 megabyte and I want to read the second picture. So it's a picture database. Each picture is 1 megabyte and I am trying to read the second image. So as soon as I open my file, I don't deal with get character, get character, get character 1 million times. I move my pointer 1 million, 1 megabyte, 1 million, 1 megabyte, then I can reach to the next image file in the image database. Image file. Multiple images in single file. So is it a database? Kind of, yes. So the idea is, can I randomly access 2 elements? Yes. So one important part of the database is providing random access to whatever you need. I want 5th element. Okay, here you go. 6th element, here you go. So you don't have to go through and count. Obviously, without making a database, without using database management system, you can implement a database with the file. For example, each line in a file can contain first name, last name, address, postcode, telephone number, email, okay? One line. So you have multiple lines in the file. Is that a database? Yes. Is it run by database management system? No, not a well-known database management system. The database management system in that case is your application, your program. Your program opens the file, reads the lines to the memory, uses it from the memory. If there is any change, saves it back. So you implement it. You implement your own database. Is there a database? Yes. Is there a database management system? No. The idea is in the file, I might have Mehmet Göktürk, fine, blah blah blah address, phone number. I might have another Mehmet Göktürk, blah blah blah blah, another email. So how do I know that Or can I know that they are the same person? No. So that means just recording those informations line by line can create problems, because if those records are created by hepsiburada.com, when you buy something, you are buying several things over the time with single account. You have a password, right? You have a history of purchases. So multiple files are there. One of them is, for example, your previous purchase list. So it is difficult to put it in single line, because each time you generate new information. Also, those are kind of different. One of them contains my credit card information and payment information. Other file can contain other things, like my social media links, so which is different from credit card. So therefore, there must be an organized way of doing it, rather than simple interests. Simple, it could be simple, then it is fine. But generally, complex problems require complex data management, such as the customer records, payroll records, employee records, inventory records, sales records. So in a company, you will have many different files. Well, I wouldn't say files, databases, because one database might have more than one file. So each of them is used by different departments. So there could be an access privilege issue as well. For example, the payroll shouldn't be available to other people. So you shouldn't see each other's salaries. In the old time, each department was using their own program and own way of recording things. Yesterday, I was in Tuzla, some government office, Tuzla Liman, and I was going to record my dilekçe. We were doing operations inside, so in the computer inside, I have my name. I applied from the internet, so online system has my record, but the dilekçe, seri numarası, etc., serial number, başvuru numarası, that machine, the girl said, you are not in the computer. I said, they are making progress inside. They are already preparing the documents inside. They just want me to put the dilekçe so that it will be official. She said, I don't know. So she had to re-enter my name and records to the computer. Apparently, that system was different than the system used from the e-government or for the internal other system. So they had two different systems. One of them didn't have my record. The other one did have. So I assumed that they are using different databases, which was true. So it's a good way to combine things when you have an integrated database, payroll department, personal department, purchasing, marketing, management, whatever you have in an organization. It could be school, so roles will be different. With single database, because I could be a personal, I am getting some salary, I am also doing marketing, I am doing customer service. So there is me there. For some aspect, I am an employee. For another aspect, I have the sticker. In another aspect, I am going to the gym. I have a gym record. right? Sports salon record. So different aspects. As a student, for example, what are the records you have in the school? You have a GPA record, transcript record, but also you are a patient. You have a health record. Okay? So once you graduate, you will be graduate record. You will be having incidents record, for example. If you cheat, it's a separate record. So, but there's only one person. It is you. So that creates the notion of relation. First, we have the user in the usage scenario. User goes through the application. It could be öğrencileri application, or it could be health office application. It could be payroll application. It is connected to database management system. Database management system is Oracle, Firebase, SQL, MySQL, PostgreSQL, SQL, structured query language. And actual database is the records, actual information. So between user and the actual information, there are layers. Those layers are, first one is the application you write, if you are the software engineer, the application you write. But the file management, you can write the file, you can see the first line contains this, the second line contains this. I can separate first name and last name with colon. Another colon will separate. The third one is the age. The fourth one will be the email. You can do it. Can you do it? Yes, you can do it. Let me give it as a homework for the other week. No, it will be more difficult, okay? So, you can do it, but I am joking, but you can do it. Is it a good practice to do it? Maybe for homework, but in real life, you don't bother, because you should be focusing on the application software, not management of the data. So actual data can be processed by kind of library that gives you function names, okay, function names and sometimes language, for proper use and fast use of data, fast recording, retrieval, changing, everything. So you don't pay attention to the files, how big, how fast. That is what database management system is. It is an application between your application and actual data, actual database. Any questions? Pis işleri database'e yaptırıyorsunuz. Schema is the description of the structure of entire database. What do I have? Student record, GPA. What do I have? In which fields? GPA, the course name, course code, the grade, pass, fail, obligatory, not. So those information indicating what do we have is called as schema, database schema. And if only we are interested on part of it, it is called a subschema. So still schema, but subschema. It could be hierarchical. Veri tabanı şemasını gönder. Send me the database schema you have. Means I'd like to understand how you record your data. I don't need your data, but I am trying to understand how you record your data so that I can prepare myself to communicate with your program. So that's a typical discussion between two developers. send me the schema. Don't send the data, I don't need it. Send the schema so that I know which field is what. Database management systems is a software layer, this layer, that manipulates database in response to requests from applications. It could be distributed. Database stored in multiple machines. It could be local distributed or widely distributed across continents, for example. And that allows me to change my application or change my database management system without changing the other part. For example, I can move to a different database management system, high performance database management system, without changing my application because it will be compatible, or very few minor changes. Or I can change my application software. I didn't like the application, I can write the new one, but database can stay the same. So, for example, if it's a hospital, you change the application of the hospital management system, but the database can stay the same. So when you change the application software, old patient records are still working because database management system is the interface for applications to talk to. Data doesn't go highly coupled with the application. Data is loosely coupled with the application. How you store is irrelevant, becomes irrelevant. Birine çok bağlanmak iyi değil derler ya, şey olarak, psikolojik olarak. So high coupled data and application is not good. Separation is good because they might change. So also this layered approach is valid for many application architectures. When you divide things into different layers, each layer will become independent. Those independent layers can be developed independently by different teams, different people, or by you in different times. So you can change that part, improve your overall experience, overall performance. But if you don't do it, if you highly coupled everything, changing something here affects everywhere. And it becomes more difficult to isolate problems and solve it. So separating concerns, separating things into different blocks, layers is good. So the beginning of that is using functions. So separate your concerns using functions so that your main program will become smaller and smaller. So your main program should be small, your functions should be a lot for good practice. Sometimes the main programs are only calling functions. Begin, setup, work, end. So 4 or 5 lines, the main program. The rest will happen in the functions. So if beginning part is giving you an error, you focus on that function. If middle part is giving you an error, you focus on that part. So separate the issues. Typically, separate data. If it's a data-oriented application, separate data and application. Traditional approach to saving data is relational data. A more recent, I wouldn't say modern, recent approaches, object-oriented. when I say traditional, it doesn't mean that it is bad. It just means traditional. The relational database model, which is traditional, is basically a table. Each column is the attribute. Each row is called as tuple. A table of employees. This is an employee database. Employee database. And single table with single table. So the table name is also employee table. Each line is tuple. Each column is attribute. Each tuple might and actually should correspond to, not it should, but it may not, correspond to a one entity. One entity means one person. In here, my entity is employee ID. So that's the first one. Can I have multiple employee IDs? Maybe. Is it me? Yes. For example, I am faculty here in the computer engineering department. I am also head of information institute, right? So two jobs I have. But I am only paid for one. I am not paid for two things. So that should be written somewhere in employee. But I might have two employee IDs. So these are tuples. And this table is called as a relation. This table defines a relation between these attributes. A person with name, address, and social security number, and ID. This is a relation. Well, if there's only one, it's also a relation. So this is also a relation. Having this is a relation. Even if you don't have anything, is there a relation? Yes, that relation is employee ID, name, address, number. So that means together they are forming a vector. That vector is a relation. Since we abolished database class, people are seeing more and more inferior movements by the programmers, by the engineers. One important requirement of a good design is avoiding multiple concepts within one relation. In this, if I try to include how many times do I go to doctor as a fifth. Doctor. So how many times do I go to doctor, or doctor name, right? My doctor's name in the company. Let's say company has 3 doctors, so doctor name is there. Who's my doctor information, right? That's a different concept. If that concept comes here, it is not good because there will be repetitions, too many repetitions. Many people have the same doctor. So it's not relevant here. Therefore, multiple concepts within one relation is bad. If there is a doctor-patient relation in the company, Fine. Then make a doctor table. Separate doctor table for each doctor. Each doctor might have different table. Or hospital table, patient, name, doctor, name, doctor, name, doctor. Or vice versa. Each doctor will have different patients. Then it will be separate table for each doctor. When you combine multiple things in one relation, it will create the redundant data, replication, a lot of replication, and also deleting something. For example, that patient is discharged. Delete. Okay, but he is an employee. It does. You have to delete it from the patient database, not from the main database. But if you write it as a single line, when you say delete accident, you shouldn't delete it because there are other parameters. So deleting a tuple can delete multiple necessary items, unfortunately. So you need to separate different concepts. That is what we say decomposition. Dividing the columns of relation into two or more relations, duplicating those columns necessary to maintain relationships. So decomposition is trying to go down the primitive correspondences. Like student, okay. Student have a medical record, faculty record, class record, GPS, stage, summer course, Erasmus. So separate them. But that's what we call decomposition. Sometimes when we decompose, we might lose information. Temporarily, for example, I can lose shoe size of a student who goes to Erasmus. Or I can say those who go to Erasmus, when they come back, are having psychological problems. How do I know that? Because there is a medical record with the psychologist here, and I have the GPA and I have Erasmus table. So when I'm decomposing, I shouldn't lose that kind of information. They could be decomposed, but if you look for, they can be reconstructed. So normally you shouldn't delete any valuable information, just decompose it. If you do it correctly, no information loss is happening. A redundant example here. Employee ID, name, address, social security number, job ID, job title, skill code, department, start date, end date. So you have multiple people with multiple job IDs, with multiple job titles, skill codes. So this looks like correct for different employee IDs. But there is a repetition. I have two entries, okay, for the same people because they have he has two different job IDs. The first one. These are the same up to here, but these are different. Start date and end dates are also different. That means I have to store it a different way. This is incorrect. Can I store this way? Yes, but probably when I am going to delete something in future, one of them, I'm going to destroy something, or I'm going to leave it as a residue, so that, for example, if he retires, his email won't be deleted, or something is not going to be deleted accidentally. There will be a logic error somewhere. So then I can separate concerns, separate concepts. Then we have three relations here. One relation is the whether it is an employee or not. Second is the job. Third is the assignment. Assigned to which floor? This floor. Where is it? Department. Assignment. Start date and end date. And job ID. This. So the first one says, who is this guy? Because who is this is one ID, address and name. So that's a unique identifier. So that's what we call employee relation. Second one is the job. It's not employee. Job ID, job title, skill code, and department. So it's only job ID. Nothing to do with the employee. Third, which job ID is assigned to who? So combining that into a third relation. This is the employee. This is the job ID. So employee comes from here. Job ID comes from here. Then you have start date, end date. So who does what? So if you want to see where Baker works, you need to find employee ID of the baker by searching in this database. Once you find the baker in the database, you get this employee ID. Get this employee ID, look at this assignment table, find that it's here, find the job ID, go back to job ID, find that column, and find the department, which is accounting or whatever. So, is it more difficult? Could be, but it's more logical because data is encapsulated by concerns. Okay? You don't store everything in one line. This is what I explained. So, employee ID, job title, department, employee ID and job title and department. This is what we call decomposition and database normalization. There are different ways of doing it, theoretical ways of doing it. If you do it incorrectly, it is not the end of the world, but the performance of your database will be low. So today, a lot of applications, a lot of websites work poorly because their database design is incorrect. Or I wouldn't say incorrect, not high performance, not well designed. Sometimes there are problems. So a better designed database will always function better. Anlıyor musunuz? The famous language for database is SQL, structured query language. These languages basically perform multiple operations, which are select, project, join at the beginning, delete, insert. Selecting means choosing a row, finding a row. Projecting means choosing columns. joining, assembling information, combining two tables. You might ask, if I would join, why would I need it to separate? Well, you may join, but you may join carefully. If you join too much, if you join big tables, it will take forever. So join operations are not good operations unless you know what you are doing. Cheap solutions, cheap and easy solutions, easy workarounds, use a lot of big joins because they can't understand multiple queries. But big joins combine everything before asking a question. Then it takes a lot of database effort at the back, which might take a couple of seconds, tens of seconds, unnecessarily in the application. If it's a web server, it will take a lot of time. This finding element is the select, which is the most common. Select is the SQL's famous keyword. Anybody had any experience with SQL? Yeah, few. So select is one of them. So in this table, you give the name, select from employee. Employee is the name of the relation, name of the table. Select from, I'm here. Select from employee, where employee ID is equal to 34Y70. So it is like find who the guy is with the employee ID this. So select from employee where employee ID is equal to this. So it's like searching. It is searching basically. Searching, finding, and doing. So you might have multiple records, no problem. Multiple output. So output can be more than one. When you go to bank, they type your name, Mehmet Göktürk, fine. They see 6 Mehmet Göktürk. And they ask another question, which one of you are you? Which one of these are you? So you give another parameter, address. So I am living in Gebze or whatever. Then okay, they will go up and down on the list and hit enter to access your actual record. So that is what select gives me, multiple outputs. If there are multiple outputs, multiple employee IDs, no problem. We can put and or select from employee where employee ID is this and address is that. So you can combine multiple conditions with select. This is the output. And output becomes a new relation, small but new relation. So when I have multiple outputs like Mehmet Göktürk, Mehmet Göktürk, Mehmet Göktürk, that's a relation. It's a sub-relation, temporary relation, but it's a relation. Okay? The project. Project is the second famous operation. It takes some of the columns. I am not interested in GPAs or whatever. I am only interested in ages and genders of the students, because somebody is doing statistics and we are interested in how many girls and boys are present in computer science over the years. Is it increasing or is it decreasing? I need to make a database search, right? So that requires project. I am not interested in GPA, but I can ask that question from student records, from registrar. So I would do project name address from employee, like if it's a name and address, or I would say project, what was it? Sex and age from students. Sex, age, and department from students. So it will create a new table. I can work on it quickly. That's what project is. The worst combined. I have patient database, Ali, Veli. Ali was sick, Veli was broken, Selami was having strong cough, etc. So some symptoms, doctor information, whatever. And then I have Ali Veli Selami, GPAs, course information, etc., addresses. So I am interested in, although I can do it by successive coding, but the easy way is, layman way is, join. I am interested in, for example, those who come from Sivas are more likely to have certain disease. So I have disease database, I have people, so why shouldn't? I mean, I am trying to find a relation. So I would like to sort who is getting most, or those students with lower GPA are going more to doctors. What do you think? Is it true? Rapor alma sıklığıyla ortalamanızın ilişkisi var mı? Olabilir mi? Böyle bir dersten kalma olasılığının artmasıyla rapor alma olasılığında bir yükselme. Okay, I'm just joking to make it more interesting. But to see that, I'd like to join two tables. So I'd like to join two tables, have a single big table, and then make a search there with the select. Select if number of reports in 1 year is greater than 3, and GPA is less than 2, how many students? I can get those as a new relation. So I can immediately get the report, get the list of students whose GPA is low, and also who are getting doctor's appointment at the same time. So to make it more interesting, I can make a regression algorithmic approach. I can get those data and plot them, make a graph. I can make it more interesting for data insight, for data analysis. But I have to combine them first. However, if these are two big tables, joining table, 100,000 customers, another 100,000 items. Who is buying what? No, don't do that way. You have to do other ways. So those big tables cannot be joined. Yeah, this is the comparison. A.W is less than B.X. So AW 2 is less than 4, 4 is not less than 4, 4 is less than 6, no, 6 is less than 5, no. So you have 4, 5, 2, 5, 2, 4. So I can join with a condition. With a good condition, which results in few output, it's okay. Few means hundreds, maybe thousands. But hundreds of thousands, no, you cannot join, because it's going to create new data in the database, it is slow. So this is a good example. Assignment and job can be joined again back to its original form. Assignment relation is on the left, job relation is on the right. When you join them, you can immediately have in one line who works where. Sonuç olarak join iyi değildir kardeşim. Don't join. If you are making joins with less experience, it's probably because you didn't understand the problem. Obviously, there are sometimes you need, but too much join, too frequent join, happens because you didn't understand how you approach to those tables. What you want is have everything in big sheet so that I can pick. Okay? It is not good. SQL has entity selection, the famous, and then regular commands like insert, update, delete. Basically, this is what a database provides you. There are obviously other functions, but basically these and their modifications comprise the SQL. They are selling it for hundreds of thousands of dollars because high performance database management systems are difficult to write. They had to manage disk, they had to manage files. Sometimes they have to copy the files to the random access memory. So people call it in-memory database, okay, because disk access is slow, and so on. So advanced, the same thing, but more advanced ways are quite interesting. This is a typical, you don't have to memorize this. This is a typical SQL query. Select employee ID and department. I'm only interested in these two from assignment and job tables, where I'm now giving the condition. If, where assignment job ID is equal to job ID and assignment term data is star. So if these conditions are satisfied, so it's like get me the employees whose job IDs are this and term data is, termination data is this. So get me those who kind of comment is select. Select from where. So this is basic form. Or adding a new record, filling the forms, insert into employee. This is the values. This, and this. So a new line is inserted. Okay? Or delete. Delete from employee. So it's easy. You don't have to specify its employee ID. Where name is Jerry Smith. So all Jerry Smiths are deleted. If there is more than one, they are also deleted. Seneler evvel zorunlu tasarruf diye bir şey çıkarmışlardı. Buraya Türkiye'ye ilk geldiğimizde maaşlarımızdan zorla para kestiler devlet ve bir yerde Ziraat Bankası'nın bir yerlerinde güya tasarruf ediyorlar. Toplanıyor ama çekemiyorsun. O ne biçim tasarrufsa çekemediğin ve zorla toplanan bir para. Yıllar sonra birisi Anayasa mahkemeye verdi. Bunu bizden haksız şey yapıyorsunuz vesaire vesaire. Neyse gerçekten haksızdı. 5-6 sene sonra bu iptal edildi halkın da baskısıyla. Bunları iade edecekler. Herkes dediler şeye gidiyor. Ziraat Bankası'na gidiyor. parasını iade edebiliyorlar. Tabii parayı iç etmişler. Normalde mesela işte bir sürü para alman gerekirken gidiyorsun işte bugünkü parayla mesela 2000 lira para alıyorsun. Senelerce kesilmiş. O çünkü enflasyona yenik düşmüş falan. Neyse 2000 lira 2000 lira. Gittim Çayırova Banka'ya. Tasarruf teşvik numaranız kaç dedi. Nereden bileyim tasarruf teşvik numaranı? Adam where tasarruf teşvik number is this diye arıyor şeyden, database'ten. Abi tasarruf teşvik numarası. TC'ye versek yok TC ile arayamıyoruz dedi. Niye? Kodu öyle yazmamış yazan kişi. Lan TC tasarruf teşvik numarası. Tekrar arabaya bin. Tekrar okula gel. Rektörlükten. Selamünaleyküm. Bizim tasarruf teşvik numaramız neydi? Ha şu bir kağıda yaz. Tekrar bankaya git. Tasarruf teşvik numarası burada. Ver tasarruf teşvik number. Tık çıktı o zaman. Tamam paranı o zaman verebildim. Demek ki böyle. Onunla yazmış. Başka bir size önemli örnek. Adliyede bilirkişilik yapıyorum. Dosya verecekler, yazacaklar UYAP'tan. Yazısını yazacaklar, hakime imza atıp dosyayı bana verecekler. Tamam mı? Giriyor, Mehmet Göktürk bekliyor. Sistem yavaş diyor. Başkası geliyor. Sonra da uyandım ben. Onu da bekletiyorlar. UYAP sistemi. Sistem yavaş. Dedim ki siz niye adamın adını soruyorsunuz? TC'sini sorun. Where name is Mehmet Göktürk diye arattırıyor. Bu sefer o alanda arama yapması indekslenmediği için uzun sürüyor. Database onu indekslememiş. İndekslemeyi anlatacağım size. Bu binary search'ün benzeri. Arıyor. Bir sonraki gidişimde dedim böyle TC'mi vereyim bir de oradan deneyin. Öyle aramıyoruz ama ikna etmek de zor yani. Alışan birisini değiştirmek. TC'ye girip tak çıkıyor. Çünkü o ilk kolonda ve indekslenmiş. Database onu indekslemiş. Neyin nerede olduğunu sort etmiş ona göre. Sorted'da araması daha kolay. Sorted bir kolon oluşturmuş. Yani neyin nerede olduğunu sort'tan buluyor. Benim numaramı girince sort ediyor. Aslında ismini de sort etmesi lazım ama indekslememiş. O yüzden uzun sürüyor. 3-5 ay sonra bir daha gittim. Baktım başkalarına da TC'niz demeye başlamışlar. Öğrenmişler. Şimdi kodu geliştiren kişi yapmış ama interface'te adını yukarı koymuşlar. Memur otomatikman adıyla araması gerektiğini düşünüyor yani. Primary key o zannediyor. Tabii ki primary key TC. Tasarruf teşvikte disaster, tasarruf teşvik numarası diye bir şeye göre yapmışlar tabloları. Abi yok yani. Öyle bir numarayı ben nereden bileceğim ben? Siz biliyor musunuz tasarruf teşvik numarası? Bilmiyorsunuz. Dolayısıyla neyi nereye koyduğunuz, nasıl organize ettiğinizin çok önemi var. Hem hızda hem de işleyişte yani. But times have changed. The keyword object oriented is cool, so why not we make an object oriented database? So we make an object oriented paradigm. Instead of writing them in a table, let's put each entity as a separate object. Relationships are indicated by links between objects. Database management system takes care of the links. Because the computation power is more recently, things that are unimaginable, undoable 10 years ago or 20 years ago is now feasible. For example, we don't pay attention about getting bigger. it is getting bigger, no problem. For example, we store key value pairs. Instead of writing everything into table, don't worry. Employee ID, employee ID, job ID, employee ID, start date, employee ID, assignment. So first one, last one, next one, first one, next one. Employee ID, job ID, employee ID, start date, employee ID, end date. Key value, push, push. I ask database, what is the assignment of this database? Database answers me. So why do I care? So recently, people started not to care about tables. They write everything in key value pairs. It's okay. It takes more steps, but it is easier to use. So for programmer's perspective, if I am interested in, where was it? If I am interested in address of the guy in the key value database, employee ID and name is stored as one key value pair separately. Employee ID and address is stored separately, and employee ID and SSN is stored separately. So everything is stored in 2 columns. If you need multiple things, ask 3 times. So each of them is separate, and each of them has 2 key value pairs, object pairs. Intelligence can be built into attribute handles. For example, when employee object employee can get sick, employee can get fired. So functions can be connected to database elements. So employee fire myself, or employee take a leave. Those functions can be connected, then executed on time and changes the data accordingly. So modification of data and behavior can be connected by object-oriented databases. Obviously, powerful machines, more powerful, not significantly powerful, more powerful machines are required with respect to relational databases. And interestingly, these could be fast for things because people don't know how to normalize database, how to reduce table sizes. Most people start with a big table, let's put everything, bütün şeceresini tek satıra yazayım, değil mi? Then they are stuck with it because they cannot change it later because program is growing over time. They can't change their data design. So it becomes slower and slower. Why? Too many lines in one big table. So key value object database could be a solution for those people because it enforces separation at the beginning, at the top level. One big function, before I finish, one big function of databases is transaction processing and database integrity. Assume that you are withdrawing money from the bank. Somehow on the way you initiated the withdrawal, but it failed. electricity went out, something. You logged in again, money is lost. Bank thinks it is given the money, but you think you didn't get the money. So what's going to happen? So these things must be cleared. Therefore, we have a type of read-write operation called as transaction. Transaction means multiple operations in a set, so that when the set is completed, transaction is done. When the set is not completed, but some of them are completed, transaction is not done. When the transaction is not done, the operations completed must be rolled back, undo. If it is completed, all the steps are completed, then transaction is done, so it cannot be rolled back. Money is given, it is arrived, confirmed from the other bank, no problem. But if it is in the middle, go back, roll back, because it is not completed. So after 5 minutes, you will see your money in your account again, because it is not sent. That is what transaction type operations, multiple steps. It is usually for money transfers, registrations, purchases, e-commerce, all these things. The common thing about them is they are made up of multiple steps. At each step you might fail. So if you fail, the transaction is not complete, you roll back. And if it is complete, we say it's committed. And it is also recorded in the log file. That is fine, that is done. So it is like a stamp. We make sure that it is completed. In databases, multiple things are accessing, multiple processes are accessing to the same database, multiple programs are accessing the same database. One person is trying to give money, one person is trying to get money. Which one is? Assume that you have how much? Assume that you have how much money? 100 million Turkish liras in your bank account. Think big. So 100 million Turkish liras. Somebody else, neydi futbolcuları dolandıran kadının adı? Okay, Seçil. Assume that Seçil is trying to send you 50 million more. Okay? So Seçil is going to read the value. Seçil's process is going to read the value, 100 million, 100 plus 50, and write it back, right? At the same time, Fatih is also trying to send you money. Okay, so Fatih is trying to send another 50. Fatih is taking 150. Okay. Take 100. The existing amount is 100 million. So add 50, 150, and it's going to write back. But as he is processing, Seçil wrote back 150. Now you have 150 million. Then Fatih writes back 150. So you are expecting 200 million. But due to the race simultaneous access problem, you still have 150 million. So what happened? We call it race condition. Okay? Simultaneous access problem. Therefore, when Seçil is going to modify your record, she has to lock the record so that Fatih cannot change it. She puts a lock, her application puts a lock, get, increment, put, then release the lock. At that time, Fatih can access the modified value. Otherwise, you will have problems. So this is database integrity, one of the problems in database integrity, which is race condition. It is important. It is also important in algorithmic level, in variables, in shared data, in your programs, in C language. This shared data problem is a big problem, and it's also a topic in operating systems course. We have semaphores for that purpose, special programming constructs to prevent that. In also transaction, there are transaction logs for financial things like that, or financial or student records or e-commerce, where changing a value by multiple entities can cause problem. Sometimes it is unimportant. If you are listening music, no problem. But if it is money or health or some interesting things, important things, you have to be careful. In the in the file, these are the records. When you when you move to the next file, you need to move to the next part with the file pointer. Tack, tack, tack, tack. So forget about this. So for the next week, I was planning to work with files more. So probably we will give you not a database, but we will give you the ability to read and write arrays from the file. Okay, could be, if I can find a simple code, like opening a GIF file, changing the color, and saving it back. GIF is kind of complicated because there is a decoding part. If we can find a library for it, then it's possible. But if we cannot find the library, forget about it. There was an image format called PPM. That format had integer numbers in text file, red, green, blue, red, green, blue, red, green, blue, red, green, blue, in a text file. So it was easy for us to read that image for computer graphics work, but nobody is using it at the moment. I think the easiest one is the TIFF. TIFF file is easy to read. I don't know, I don't need to do it. This week I am going to announce your groups. So you will be forming your groups for the final project, and you will be able to do whatever you want. So there is no project topic. It's going to be a project. So do whatever you want. I want you, we want you to work together with the people that you are not friend at the moment. So they will be random groups. Why are we doing it that way? Because in reality, there will be random groups. You will be in company where you don't want to be together with. At each groups, there will be people who will not be participating, and those people will be reported in the report. So I will grade them accordingly. So if they don't show up, if they don't participate, you will be reporting it. Okay, any questions? Insert, delete, select, join, project. Okay. There is also modify. Modify the existing record. SQL biliyorum diyorsunuz ya. SQL biliyorum dediğinizde komut sayısı az ama onu nasıl yaptığınız, bununla bunu endlerim, oradan bu parantezi çekerim, sonra bunu şey yaparım. Kafanızda o tablolarla ne yapmanız gerektiğini bilmek, database'i bilmek. Yoksa komutların sayısı çok az. Yani az değil de az yani. Çok da fazla değil. Okay. So it's all for today.